Filmmaking is an art, and in every art form is criticism, because all art is subjective. So in this essay, I will be pointing out less objective criticisms and more factual breakdowns that ruin or disrupt the enjoyment of these films. Let's talk about Dunkirk. Dunkirk is praised for its screenplay, direction, musical score, and cinematography. Some critics say it's the greatest war film ever made. I mean, I guess they haven't seen Saving Private Ryan, which has memorable characters, moral dilemmas, and bond of brothers in arms. Dunkirk, though praised so highly, has a few fundamental problems that contradict the critics, like plot, characters, and writing. These three subjects come up a lot in Christopher Nolan films, but we're just talking about Dunkirk this time. Number one, the plot. The film Dunkirk is about British Allied soldiers retreating to Dunkirk and awaiting rescue on the shore of said Dunkirk. Large ships try to ferry the soldiers out, and planes come to protect them. But in the end, it takes civilians to come to their aid. That sounds like a great story. But in Nolan's movie, there are only 2 destroyers that could ferry the men and ended up getting sank by unknown German soldiers. No German soldier was seen in the entirety of this film. In reality, though, the British had 39 destroyers and 693 total ships that aided in the departure of Dunkirk. In Nolan's movie, there were only 3 planes that came to aid the men on the shore. In reality, there are over 200 planes lost while dogfighting over the shores of Dunkirk. Scaling down the film was probably an artistic choice done by Nolan, but imagine the large, wide shots of beauty with actual amount of ships and planes in them. It would have been breathtaking.
I'm not going back. There's no hiding from this sun.
Dunkirk's plot was broken into an A, B, and a C story that eventually come together in one pivotal moment. But to add more artistic view on the story, they confuse you in making it not a linear storyline. One second you go to watching people on the shore, next into the future where people are gearing up boats to go save the soldiers. We can discuss the 3 key points by looking at each plot. Let's talk about plot A. A soldier runs to the shore, finding everyone waiting around. Finds another man, doesn't speak to him. They find people being ferried onto a ship. The 2 find a man wounded and decide that's my ticket out. Wounded first. The 2 get aboard the ship and the ship sinks. They leave. Rinse and repeat. Little to no dialogue exchanged with any character. Dialogue and action is how people connect to a character. When you deprive them of one, you need to enhance the other. Usually filmmakers use close-ups to counter this. But not in Plot A. Plot A is used for scale, but like established before, the scale of the situation has been drastically reduced. Talk about Plot B. 3 fighter pilots flying out toward the shore. They get into a little skirmish and one plane has been hit in the fuel tank. But they continue on. This is the ticking clock aspect of the story. which is also a metaphor for the slow progression of the German forces descending upon the shore in Plot A. But again, it's just implied because we never get to see the strengths of the force in the film. Let's stop for a second. To create weight in a story, we need to show the consequences of the devices in the story. For example, if one were to have a story where there's a switch in a room, but if flipped, a wall of spikes opens up and crushes someone, first you'd have to see someone prior being killed by this said trap. So later, when our protagonists enter the room and it's shrouded in darkness, the tension is there, building. What if they flip that switch? We don't see the size and extent of the German forces in this movie, so we have no weight of the impending doom. There could be only 15 German forces shooting mortars over a wall, for all we know. This is why the movie Saving Private Ryan showed D-Day in the beginning of the film, to give it weight and tension to the rest of the story. As you learn and grow and care for the characters, you have a fear for each step the men take because it could be their last. War has no mercy. Let's talk about Plot C. An old man and two young boys go off to help at Dunkirk. They ended up picking up a soldier stranded on a sunken, overturned ship. This man has PTSD and ends up striking one of the boys, who ends up going blind and dying later on. The old man and other boy ignore this as it wasn't the man's fault. He is traumatized. Even in the end, when the man notices that he killed the younger boy, he escapes and leaves as quickly as possible. Is this supposed to show us the horrors of war and what it'll do on our psyche? For me, I might be alone on this, it gives an undertone of no consequences for the actions and decisions made in the film. Everyone will just brush off decisions or actions anyone else makes, and no repercussions in the end for each character. To summarize, these plots have a fundamental flaw that stick out like a sore thumb and stem straight from the script of the film. If ignored, these elements would be agreeing that you'd be able to enjoy the movie, but comparing it and holding it over Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan, that's when you get into a falsehood that, on a script level and writing standpoint, is very flawed.
Get home! There's no hiding from this, son. We have a job to do. Turn it around!
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender.
If you like Dunkirk, that's fine. I see why people could like Dunkirk. As for me, I feel these flaws ruined the film. Share, like, and subscribe if you want another breakdown of another iconic film or even a Christopher Nolan film.